Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. My name is Anne-Marie and I'm a positivity clinical hypnotherapist and a confidence life coach, and I'm 10 minutes late and I do apologise. Also, hello to everybody who's listening on the podcast as well. I'm really glad I'm here with you this evening because I actually wanted to bring something to you. It's always lovely when we have guests, and I do have guests every Monday at 8 p.m. But on a Sunday, I like to talk with you one-to-one and have a conversation. Good evening, Sarah. Good evening, Robert. How are you? And so, really, tonight's conversation is, I do always try and bring you, I try to bring you information that I've actually experienced myself, so that I don't, I'm not talking randomly, I'm not talking out of a book, I'm talking to you from real life experience. And this weekend, good evening everybody, good evening Asha. This weekend has been an eye-opening experience for me in terms of being a parent of teenage children, and I don't know how many of you out there are actually parents of teenage children, but I know for a fact we were having this discussion, our family were having this conversation yesterday, because I've been lucky enough to spend the whole week. There you are. Look, that was one of my children just ringing me as we were speaking. He's been here all weekend with his children, so they're my grandchildren. I know I don't look old enough. But he's been here all weekend with his children, and I've had my two children. So we've had a house full of 6 people, and it's been really, really fantastic. In fact, it's been more than fantastic. It's been eye-opening and illuminating and really heart-fulfilling for me this weekend, because I do work a lot. I'm not even going to pretend. You know, I put a lot of work into what I do. And Jason just said to me, no, I said, oh, I'm going to change my background. He said, oh, don't worry about it, Mum. No one even cares. And I said, Jason, if I thought anyone didn't care, I wouldn't even do this show. I know people care. So, but it's actually been nice this weekend for the first time in a very, very long time that I said, kids, I'm not doing any work this weekend at all. I just want to spend the focus time with you. And I want to tell you why I came to that decision, because it's really, really important. I know that when you have this dream of having a baby, when you first have it, you know, you have that dream, don't you? I'm going to get married and I'm going to have my lovely little babies and they're going to be so cute. Everybody dreams of having the perfect family, right? When you dream about having children, you don't dream, oh my gosh, you know what? I can't wait till my kids are 15 and 16 and they really start giving me lip and they answer me back and they're just really difficult to manage. Oh, I can't wait for that. Let's have children. No one, I repeat, no one does that. No one has children with the thought of, I can't wait to be a parent to a 14 or a 15-year-old. You have children because they fit quite neatly into your lovely little life, and you can take them around with you and you can see yourself in them, and they say cute things and it's really, really lovely, and it's so easy. For all the parents that are out there that have children under 10, I'm sorry, I know that you think it's quite difficult right now. This is the easy bit. Children under 10, this is the easy bit right now, because from here on in, the fact that you've nurtured your child and you've given your child all those fantastic experiences and you've nurtured their independence, well, after 10, they start using that independence, and some of you might really like that. Some of you might struggle with that a bit. Some of you might struggle seeing yourself reflected back to you on a daily basis, and I have to tell you, you know, I talk about parenting and I have won a parent award and I talk about these things, but it's still, just because I have an award on my mantelpiece that says Inspirational Mum of the Year, that does not qualify me to be a super parent. And I'm going to share something with you because I think it's real, not to just come on here and talk about how amazing life is and I'm meeting Robert De Niro and I've had this fantastic opportunity. I think that if I'm going to share with you, I need to share all facets of who I am. And even as a positivity clinical hypnotherapist, and I do life coaching for children and adults, even with all those qualifications and having lived the life that I live, I don't always get it right. That's the truth. I don't always get it right. And this week, I had a conversation with one of my children's teachers, and they said, you know, your son, one of them, You know, they have been messing around in class, and we are going to take them out of that class, and we're also going to give them a detention. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. People keep actually texting me and sending me messages, and I'm trying to avoid them. I'm trying to you don't need to know. Anyway, so I got the letter, I got the email from the school saying, you know, we're having some problems with your child. They're not focusing, they're not concentrating in class, and we think the best solution would be is to take him out of the class and give him a detention on Wednesday. Personally, I don't think the way to empower a child to behave in class is by taking them out of the class. I think you've got to empower a child to stay in class, but that's just my personal opinion. But because I was confronted with this situation, you know, most parents, as a response, we get quite frustrated, we get quite angry, because it breaks up our very scheduled lives. We've got all of these things going on, and we really don't factor in, I need to have a conversation with the school about my child. Let's be real here, let's be honest. We don't factor in for that. We just do what we do, we put in the boundaries, we put in the discipline, and we just have our fingers crossed that, oh God, that our child is going to toe the line and be the child that we want them to be. But unfortunately, or fortunately, I would like to think that I could temporarily mute my notifications. Robert noted, I will do that next time. But I like to think that we raise our children to be independent, special and unique. That's exactly why we love them for who they are. So when they start showing you their independence and their uniqueness, we have to embrace it, right? So once I'd got over the point of being really actually quite frustrated, because it meant that I had to move a whole lot of things around which I hadn't planned for to deal with this incident, I thought, no, I'm going to approach it in a different way. I'm not going to project my frustration at this situation. I'm actually going to go to why this situation has happened. And I had a very deep, intense and meaningful conversation with my child, who is 15 years of age. And I have to tell you that what came out of that conversation totally shocked me. And if I hadn't have approached the situation in the way that I approached it, I would never have got to the bottom of this. And this could have been a roller coaster of bad behaviour, you know, feedback from school, me being angry, putting in sanctions, more bad behaviour, me getting emails from school, me putting in more sanctions. And it would have just been a road to a bad place if I'd have just kept reacting to the situations that I was seeing from the school. So I sat him down, and I didn't send him to school that day. I said, let's just talk about what is really at the root of your behaviour at school. And when you ask a question so openly like that, you have to expect the unexpected. Because I wasn't angry when I asked this question. I wanted to know the answer, because I wanted to see what I could do to address the behaviour. And the response that I got back was, I just wanted some more attention from you. That's really hard to hear, isn't it? You see, I am a single parent, and I don't use that as a banner, because I think we as human beings, not as men, not as women, but we as human beings are capable of amazing things. And I think that, you know, we can organise, we can do anything we want to do. We can be multifaceted, men and women alike. There are men and women that can't, and there are men and women that can. It's not a gender thing, it's a possibility, it's a thing. What do you think that you can really competently deal with in your life? And so when I was thinking about how do I get back on track with my son, who I dearly love, and I have two children, and they are both at this teenage age, 14 and 15. So you can imagine it's actually quite, it's a challenge being able to balance all those plates, making sure that they are nurtured and loved and cared for and understood, making sure that I keep their diaries right, making sure that I'm still running my business, making sure that I'm being proactive in my business, and making sure that I'm still balancing getting more clients, creating the next 12 months, which I've already done, and also making sure that I'm there as mum. So in the house, I'm so many roles, and I found that to be quite a struggle. So I thought, how do I do it? How do I manage it? And I'm going to give you, I've written down like 7 or 8 things that have really helped me to manage my role as a parent, but still pursue my dreams, because I don't care what anybody says out there. It is actually really hard to be really purposely focused on one thing and then switch your whole attention to something else. Because what I tend to find is if I'm really focused in my work, I'm doing that and I'm getting everything done, but something has to give, right? Am I here on my own? Just please, just somebody put a hand up and let me know that somebody understands what I'm talking about. That you're trying to run a household, keep it clean and tidy, make sure that there's food in the fridge for every single day of the week, making sure that your children are loved, nurtured and looked after, making sure that you're propelling your business forward, and making sure that you are giving yourself love, that you are looking after yourself, you are giving yourself time to appreciate you, meditating, whatever that is for you. I know I do meditation. I'm telling you what, it is really, thank you. Thank you for all those people that give me love out there, because, you know, we all want to present this is Facebook, right? We want to present the very, very best version of ourselves, but behind closed doors, every door is different. Behind every closed door is a different story. And you don't need to share that story, but you need to know that you are not on your own, okay? You are not on your own. And I'm sharing with you this weekend because I made a breakthrough that I want to share with you, because I know this is going to serve you, right? I know this is going to serve you. Okay. So we had a family meeting. I brought the children downstairs, and I said, this is not working the way that we're doing what we're doing. We need to put some things in place so that everybody feels that they are moving forward in this family. How can we do that? And the suggestions that I got back were, we need to have regular time for you to listen to us. We need to know that we can come to you and tell you things and know that you're actually actively listening. That was one of the suggestions that was made by my children. And I know that's absolutely true. I don't know how many parents out there would admit to yourselves that sometimes your children talk to you and you are on autopilot. Yeah, okay, yeah, and you're not really hearing what they're saying. Or rather, you may be hearing what they're saying, but you're not hearing what's behind the words that they're saying, because sometimes children can be very blunt, but sometimes children don't even understand how to process their own feelings. So they might present in one scenario to you, but you as an adult, if you listen to those words and you work it out, you can realise there's something underlying going on. So how actively do you listen to your children on a daily basis? Is that once in the morning? Is that once before they go to bed? Do you wait till they come home from school and say, I really want to hear about your day? However you're doing it, you need to make sure that you are doing it. And we'd love it to be daily. We'd love it to be daily, but if it's not daily, at least let it be weekly. And so the proposition was put on the table. My children would like for every Sunday for us to have a meal round the table, and we have to each speak, and we had to each tell each other what we're grateful for about the other person. And I tell you what, that was beautiful. It was tearful. It was beautiful to hear my son tell my daughter why he was grateful for her. 3 reasons why he was grateful to have his sister in his life. And then he had to tell me 3 reasons why he was grateful that I was his mum. And we went round the table and each of us did this. This was on Friday. Each of us did this. And we made a vow that we're going to do this every Monday, because, you know, whilst my children were telling me that they needed more time to be able to speak to me honestly, I felt the same. I don't always want, because I'm a single parent, I have to be mum and I have to be dad. And I'm not saying that I'm special, because I know there are mums out there who possibly feel that they're doing it all by themselves as well. Yeah, I know that. There are wives who have husbands whose husbands go out and spend most of the day out of the house, and that mum's going to work, she's coming back, she's getting the children up, she's going to work, she's going to nursery, she's coming back, she's doing the dinner, she's putting the children to bed. And then she gets to spend time with her husband, and the kids have not even hardly seen the dad. So and I know plenty of women, and I work with them. I've got 2 clients that I work with at the moment who have told me, I feel like a single parent, Anne-Marie. Hold on, let me just have a look here. Wow. Abigail, thank you. Thank you for sharing with us, Abigail. Abigail has said, teens are real hard. We have to show them our entire lives. Absolutely. Which buttons to push and avoid. As teens, they begin to turn our concepts back at us. I love that you said our kids mirror us. The faults we don't like in our... Oh, absolutely. That was one of my points coming up. The faults that we don't like in ourselves is what we see in our children. So, so true. And I've said it before. If there is a trait that you don't like in your child, then you have to go back inside, because they are reflecting what you are showing. So let's just start with some of these points that I really hope are going to empower you to open the lines of communication with your teenager and really get on a level where they feel that you are caring about them as they are now and not as they were when they were 5 years old. Aren't we all a little bit guilty of that? You know, when you're talking to your children, but you haven't calibrated yourself to them being 15, you are still talking to them like they're 10. Yeah? For quite a few conversations like that this weekend. It's been such an eye-opener. It's been painful for me, but I will do it because I never ever want to stop communicating with my children. I don't want to be in a point where I've got this fabulous life that I've created because I worked so hard, but my children don't want to be in it with me. I don't want that. So here we go. The top one I just said to you, set a regular time every week for sharing info. I also suggested to them that hour after they come home from school, it's a dead hour because I go and pick them up. And for that hour, maybe it's in the car or maybe it's getting them a sandwich because they're hungry after school. We just spend that hour going, how was your day? But really listening behind what they're not saying. Really, really important to actively hear and not just yes, no, yes, no. Right. How about this one? Treat your child as if they were a guest in your house. Now, that is a big one because obviously you know when your children bring playmates over to the house and how nice you are to the children, but then, you know, to your child, you're still giving out all your orders, but you wouldn't do that to another child. And even if you did, I mean, to be fair, when I have children come around my house, they fall in line with my children. Sometimes I will ask them, can you set the table, please? Grace will show you. Everyone pitches in here. And a lot of parents thank me for it. They say, God, my kids are so well behaved around your house. Do you know what I say to them? If they can do it at my house, they can do it at your house. You just need to try harder. And a lot of parents don't want to hear that, but it's the truth. If a child can adapt to a different environment, then they can do it in your house. You just need to try a little bit harder, yeah? Number 3. I did number 2 and this is number 3. Practice what you preach. This is huge. Yeah, this is huge. I know it's not so prevalent as it was maybe say 10 years ago, but you know, those parents that won't let their children smoke, but yet they smoke themselves. If you are leaving cigarettes around in your house, I know you are not vigilant enough to be counting how many are left in your packet. Your children are nicking them anyway. It's the truth. We all remember from when we were young, you know, and when I say practice what you preach, even in terms of the way that you speak, I really try not to gossip and talk disrespectfully about other people at all, actually, but more so when I'm with my children, because I don't like to hear them talking about their friends in that way. And what kind of a culture are you setting up for friendship? Is this what friends do, talk about each other behind their back? No, we talk about our friends, my friends, in really positive terms. And I am blessed because I've made sure that I've only surrounded myself with positive, empowering people. So I've only got good things to say about them. And that's the other thing as well, let me tell you. If you have beautiful people around you that nurture you and develop you and make you feel amazing, well done. You are reflecting yourself because you fill yourself with people that reflect who you are. The 5 closest people to you reflect the person who you are. So if you're loving the 5 closest people to you, which I am, then you've done a really good job of surrounding yourself with positive vibrations, positive reflective vibrations. Okay, number 4. Do not make assumptions about anything with your children. Do not make assumptions about what you think your children are thinking. We as parents have a very, very good knack of saying, well, you didn't finish that anyway because you don't like that. So we just do it constantly. We remember something from when they were very small, and then we could almost take a snapshot of our children at a certain time when we were most engaged with them, and we stay with that and stay with that and stay with that until you get a really big shock. Let me tell you, and that shock is usually after 10 when your children turn and go, actually no. And if you have 14 and 15-year-olds, do you know who they really are? Do you know their personalities? Do you know what their deal breakers are? Yes, deal breakers, because deal breakers are the situations that are going to nurture your children to become the social human beings that they are. An example of a deal breaker. When my son was in year 6, he was bullied quite a lot by the group of children that he really wanted to be friends with, and they kept pushing him out. We don't know why it happened. Maybe he joined late, but they were very cliquey and they didn't invite him to things. They would sometimes and then they wouldn't. And he got so upset by this constant rejection. He said to me, Mum, I want to change schools. And you know what? I didn't know what to do. I really seriously thought, you love them. You don't want them to be in pain. You don't want them to be, coming home crying often. And I really was about to do it. And then I thought, you know what? The decision that I make today for him will be the decision that he will follow through with whenever he has a situation like this again. In other words, if he goes to work in a company where he doesn't get on with somebody, is he going to leave that company every time? Or is he going to think, no, I need to think of strategies to be able to deal with this person? Because, this is a big school, this is a big office. I don't need to be friends with them, but I can be socially respectable to them. So I told him, no, son, this is your very first deal breaker, and the way that you deal with this situation would be the way that you would deal with it in the future. This is an empowering situation. How are we going to do it so that you feel in control of it? And that's what we worked with. We didn't work with, okay, we're going to go and we're going to start all over again trying to make friends. We went with, how are we going to approach the people that are not working with you the way that you want to? How can you do things differently to get a different response? And that's what we worked with. And I have to tell you, my 15-year-old son is one of the most popular boys in his school. We've always got people over here. And that was from a very sensitive young boy to a very confident, all right, he had some hypnotherapy as well, but he's still a very confident young man because he knows how to negotiate. He knows how to mediate with people that weren't really liking him. He's very much a people person because he's taught himself how to be, because he wants to keep his friends. Yeah. And every one of you, if you've ever had a really good best friend, you've never had a good best friend until you've actually had an argument with them. If you've never argued with your best friend, if you've never argued, okay, not argued, discussed, had a difference of opinion. If you've never had a difference of opinion with your best friend, with your husband, with your mother, with your sibling, if you've never had then you've never had a real relationship with them. Because real relationships are not about when everything's going really, really smoothly and that, life is easy. Real relationships are overriding and negotiating and mediating out of the really difficult situations that rub us up the wrong way. It's a way of being able to accept each other's faults and move forward. That's a real friendship. Don't be fooled for 1 minute. And I hear these husbands and wives say, we've never had a crossword in 20 years. Have you never spoken to each other? Do you like exactly? Do you? Anyway, I'm going to leave that one open. So, don't make assumptions about anything that they're thinking. Ask the questions. And you know what, parents, I'm going to say to you, this is really, really difficult because I know as a parent of a teenage boy and a teenage girl, sometimes if you ask those questions, you have to be prepared for the answers, and you might not like the answers you get sometimes, okay? Because those answers can be, they can scare you, they can make you fearful, they can make you want to lock your child in the house for the rest of their teenage years. Yeah, but they have to be asked. You have to talk about contraception. You have to talk about gender difference. You have to, and not in a giggly, silly way, but in a practical, what do you want to know way. I've always been like that. And other parents are like, oh, if they ask me, no matter what age they are, they have an awareness. And so I will make sure it's presented to them in obviously a child appropriate way for whatever age they were. But I will not just say, oh, you don't need to know about that. Because, where you cut curiosity like that, it will just manifest bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it becomes an obsession. Just letting you know with that one. Number 5, have conversations about anything. I just said that one, didn't I? Absolutely anything. Conversations about, I could tell you some things now that would really make your hair curl, but maybe this is not the right appropriate forum. But my children have asked me some really, really intrusive questions. But I would still rather answer them than they go and ask another 13-year-old or 14-year-old or 15-year-old child that has no more knowledge or far less knowledge than me, and they get a distorted, misrepresented, awkward answer that that they both believe is true, but it's actually not true. It's just something that they've overheard, and it's just a misrepresentation. Be honest enough. If they're asking you, first of all, feel proud that they would come to you with such a personal issue. That's a really good sign of open communication when your child can come and speak to you about wet dreams or erections or whatever it is they want to speak about. If they can do it with you, then you are blessed, because you have opened up a channel of communication where they feel they can come to you honestly. So don't be embarrassed. Have the conversation. Right. I'm going to go to some of these feedback questions afterwards, but I just want to get through this because some of these I really are going to make such a difference to your life, make a difference to your parenting life. Okay. Here's the big one. You need to ask the right questions to get the right answers. Now, but when I asked my son, what is at the root of all of these issues at school? And he said, I just don't think I get enough time with you. There are things that I want to speak about, but I haven't had the opportunity to do so. And we spoke about those things. And then we had the weekend together, and obviously I had to take some things away, because I'm not just saying just being a good parent doesn't mean to say that you let them get away with murder and all you do is have conversations. Obviously there were still sanctions, but because of the sanctions we actually had time to spend together. We sat together on Saturday night and we watched a film together, and we had a really deep intense conversation. And I also told him how proud I was of him. I actually gave him an essay to write. The essay was about, if you continue on this path of your behaviour, where do you think this is going to take you in 15 years' time? And they were really, they were questions to make him think about his projected future. And what he came back with is, Mum, I don't actually think I need to answer any of these essay questions. I'll tell you right now, it's because, you go to school with Gracie. We go to school in the car, and you talk to her all the time, and you do girly things, but you don't really include me. And I know it's because I'm a boy and I don't want to do it. So you know what I realised? I have to make special time just to go with him and go and do what he does. And if that means sitting playing Fortnite for 15 minutes, or we just go for a walk around our little local village, then do that. But make the time to do it regularly. Don't just do it once and think, oh, I can tick that off my list. It's a regular thing, because your child is changing all the time. Your child is experiencing new, challenging, awkward situations. These are their deal breakers that are making them become adults, and they need to know how they're going to deal with it. And wow, this weekend has been so insightful for some of the questions that I've been asked. I'm like, wow, where did that come from? But I feel I did okay. In fact, I know I did okay, because I told you that all the family came over on Saturday, and we drove to Chelmsford. Yes, I have lots of clients, but yeah, my children are not my clients, but I do regularly do life coaching with them, because again, I've had this conversation when people say, life coaching is a little bit expensive, isn't it? But expensive for what? Expensive to live the life that you want to live. Why keep making the same mistakes when you can have life coaching and know how to deal with them in a different way that empowers you, that enables you to do more, be more, and have more? I think it's a no-brainer. But yes, I do life coaching with my children. They are lucky to have me. I get that. I was talking to a client of mine the other day saying, I would love to open a Montessori nursery and teach young children life coaching skills, because it should be mandatory in schools. It should be mandatory to have life coaching skills. Where do you want to be? Who do you want to be? What do you want out of life? What do you want to achieve? Put some goals together, work towards them. Mandatory. A different generation, but maybe that will come around in time. But so we were driving to Chelmsford, and I've cried a lot this weekend. I know I'm a little bit of I know, because I'm emotional. I'm very sensitive, and when I make breakthroughs like the one we had this weekend, and we were driving in the car, and I asked this ultimate question, and I dare any one of you watching this evening, I dare you to ask this question. regularly, once a month. I turned to my son as he was sitting in the car and I said, Jason, how am I doing as a parent on a scale of 0 to 10? And I can share with you proudly, he said, a 10. Now, I was very proud to be a 10. And he took my hand and he kissed my hand. And I was so proud that my 15-year-old son said that to me. Because I do ask, and before now he's told me, hey, you moan too much, don't keep coming up to school, don't talk to my friends, don't add my friends on Snapchat, all these different reasons. But for this particular moment in time, this weekend, I got a 10. And the beautiful thing about getting a 10 was, the reason why I was so happy to get a 10 was because we didn't do anything that cost any money this weekend. All I gave them was my time. And that's what earned me a 10 for my son this weekend. That was it. I said, I'm not working. This is totally for you. Let's have our time together. And for that, I got a 10. Thank you, Robert. I tell you what. And the other thing I said to him, Jason, as he was sitting in the chair and he gave me that 10, and I said, you know what, Jason, I want you to realise that, you know, this is a really fantastic moment for me. I have a highlight you could never, ever believe. And this what we've done this weekend has cost no money at all. And you're telling me that I'm a 10. So imagine all those times that you put pressure on yourself to be spending money here and doing this and doing that. You don't have to do that, parents. You just have to make regular time to have focus, concentrate time on your child. Ask the questions that really are honest enough to be brave enough to get the answer back. And there have been times when I've asked them, and if they say to me less than 10, then I will say to them, okay, what can I do? If it's like a 7, I'll say, what can I do to get that to an 8? And they will tell me. And then for that next time, I'll be working on that one thing that they've told me that will take me up to a 10 next time. Parenting is ongoing. It's every day. It's every second moment of the day. Every conversation you're having, you're thinking about, what am I saying to my child to empower them today? It's the hugest job that you've ever had, and we all get caught up. We all get caught up in our lives. We all get caught up with just doing the shopping, doing the washing, doing the housework, doing this, doing that. We all get caught up in doing, but you know what? You need to really focus on being in the moment, being present, being happy, being fulfilled. Because this is what gives you an abundant life. And this is what you need to focus on, because the doing is in the past. The being is right now. And so when I asked that question, how am I doing right now? And he said, a 10. I was just over the moon. I couldn't have, obviously, yeah, I did. I had a few tears because I've never had a 10 before, right? I've never had a 10. He's 15. I've never had a 10 before. But I'm constantly, and I know some people might be thinking, wow, you're really obsessed with this. You're really working hard. Yeah, I am. They're my children. I love them. I love them very much. I want them to feel totally loved, nurtured and happy in everything they do. And it's not about the money at all. It's about time. So, what was my last one? Number 7. Be prepared to challenge. Remember, everything. Be prepared to challenge. Okay, that was actually to do with the school. I wanted to say to you as parents, you know, schools are an institution. The only person that knows there's no person that knows your child better than you, okay? And when the school rang me on Friday and they said, oh, you know, we want to discuss your child being out of school today. And I said, yeah. I said, well, I'm really glad that you've rung me. And I said, because I know what I've put in place now to support my child to achieve at home, but I wonder, what are you going to be putting into place? Because I gave them 2 options. I said, if my son is not behaving well in class, number 1, I can come into class. I can sit in every lesson. And you know what? I would. I did it with Casey. I will do it for any one of my children. School didn't want that. Don't come and moan to me that my child's not behaving. If I'm giving you an option, I've got a DBS. I am qualified to work with and around children. I will come and sit in the back of that class. My son will not say a word. Trust me. You need to watch a few of my parenting skills teachers, because I don't have these issues at home. I only have these issues at school. Anyway, I'm not a saint, and I know the reasons why he was acting the way he was, as I've already shared with you. But, you know, some of the teachers, and the other thing is, my son only messes about in certain classes. Do you know why? Because some teachers will allow him to. I say allow, they don't invite him, come on everybody, be naughty. But what I am saying is that some teachers know how to manage a class and some teachers don't. And I'm sorry, but the teachers that don't, why should my child have to stay at home because you can't manage a class? He's got A's, B's and B's and A's and B's in most of the lessons except for these 2 lessons. And do you know why this one lesson that he misbehaves in? Because all of his mates are in that class. I mean, come on. Why would you do that? You know what they're like together. So I said, take him out of the class, put him in another class. Oh, we've got no other class to put him into. I've given you 2 options. Come on, use your brain. I've used mine. But I know it is a partnership between me and the school. And I really do feel that I've addressed a lot of those issues, that he can go into school feeling, you know, empowered, and that he can make positive change for himself. But parents, I only came on today just to share with you, be empowered. You are doing a fantastic job. And I know that when you made this decision to have these lovely babies, this was not in the book. It wasn't in the book at all. And still we don't have that manual. And you know what? Even when you get that manual, I have an older child of 26 years of age. And I'm sorry, parents, but if you've got that older child and you're thinking to yourself, phew, I've already brought up, you know, one child and now I'm just going to apply the same rule again. It doesn't work like that. Each and every one of these children is unique, special, different, with a different set of problems and a different set of attributes and qualities. And yes, you do have to take the time to get to know each of them individually, their uniqueness. And then you have to work with the strategy of what you have for each child. And it won't always be the same. Oh, there's Naomi. Naomi is, myself and Naomi are now new global brand divas. That's, I can't wait. I can't wait for this. I just can't wait for this new workshop that we're rolling out in January. Me and the lovely Naomi, Global Brand Divas. I don't want to get sidetracked, but let me tell you, do watch out for this, because if you are in business, if you are out there to promote yourself in some way, or you want to build your confidence, this is going to be the workshop for you. It's going to be absolutely amazing. But I digress. So I've given you the 9 top tips for being a super parent, for letting your child know that actually you really do care. You know, silly little things like I know all of their best friends' names. I know all of their best friends' good qualities, and I know all of their best friends' bad qualities. I notice the change when they come home, when they've been with certain people. I'm watching this all the time. And the reason why, you might be asking yourself, well, why are you so vigilant? I'm only a vigilant parent because I never had I've not had parenting handed down to me. I've created my own parenting book. And I think what happens a lot of the time is a lot of mums, they're kind of worn out by the time they get to 13 and 14 and 15. They've done all the really strong parenting and they're thinking, okay, so now my child is of an age where they can make decisions for themselves, where they can cross the road by themselves, where they can get on a bus by themselves. I think I can settle back a bit. I can just relax a bit. Oh, no. Sorry. Now is not just the time to step it up. But, you know, it's the most important gift that you can give your child at this age, 13, 14, 15, 16, is the ability of strength of character. It's the ability to be able to say, no thanks. No, I'm not into that. I'm not down for that. Right? Because that is the hardest thing that you can instill in a child. And all the while, when your children are younger, when you're mollycoddling them, you're making all those decisions for them and you're not empowering them to make decisions for themselves. Then all of a sudden they get to 10 and you take your eye off the ball. You think you can sit back and all of a sudden you think they're going to be able to make them kind of decisions by themselves. But yet you haven't empowered them to, because you've been making all the decisions for them up until now. No. What happens is when they go to secondary school, they go run wild. And that's why the year 7 transition is so difficult, because all of a sudden children have gone from having no authority over the decisions they make to having all the authority. And that's why they struggle. All children, all 3 of mine, struggle from the transition to secondary school. So do yourselves a favour. Right now, if they're in year 6, looking at year 7 next year, start giving them little deal breakers. Start giving them moral things to be thinking about. What would you do if? And what would you do in that situation? And what would you do? Start them thinking about how they're going to manage themselves, who they are going to be, how they are going to deal with challenging and difficult situations, which they will have. Start making them think about that now. We're a bit early. We've got September next year. But I am going to be running a transition course, a transition workshop for children going from year 6 to year 7. It's such an important time. Really, you would really be well served to give your children the tools. And this program, it's called Magic, and it's a certified program, and it's motivation, assertiveness, goal setting, initiative, and confidence. And that's what we cover in this this youth impact course, or early years achiever, whatever which one it is. We've got some people here that they've had their children on this youth impact program, and it is so impactful. It makes such a difference. It really empowers your child to know that they can stand there and hold their own, and they don't have to align themselves to the noisy, loud ones, so that they don't get picked on. It actually allows them to stand in their own strength and say, "I know, I'll do what I want to do." Because that's what you want them to do. You want them to be able to put the brakes on themselves. You don't want them to have to, be a different person around you. We all know they are to a degree, but you want them to be able to really make the same kind of choices and decisions that you would have made. In other words, make the choices that mum would make even if she's not there. Because it makes sense. It makes sense. So, that's me this evening. I've shared my top 9 tips to be a super duper parent of a teen, to have that open communication, to feel that love go in between, because isn't it, as they get older, you don't get those cuddles like you used to, you don't get those conversations like you used to, but you can if you allow your children to know that you are there waiting for that conversation to happen, and you can still keep that flow, and it's beautiful. Getting to know your child on a really personal level, their sense of humour, what makes them laugh, what makes them cry, what kind of girls they like, what kind of boys they like. When you start, and you can still be a parent. A lot of people say you can't be a friend and be a parent. I disagree. I am a parent. I'm a very disciplined parent. My son always says to me, "Oh gosh, I really hate having a black parent," because he knows that I don't know what that means actually. I just think it means he thinks I'm harsher than anybody else. I don't really care, because that's the parent I have to be. But I still know who he is. And it hasn't stopped us from having a really deep, close, loving relationship and being friends, because he tells me stuff and I tell him stuff. I think the most important thing is be honest with your children. Don't pretend to be somebody that you're not. Don't pretend to be an angel and then behind their backs go and be someone else, because they'll hear about it anyway from somebody else. Be the person that you are proud to be in front of them. We all do different things around our friends, but ultimately be the same person and be honest and open with them. Talk honest and real talk with them, and they will give you the same back. But be prepared to hear. That's a really big thing. So you know where I am, essex-hypnootherapist.com. I run workshops for children that are doing the transition from primary to secondary. That's the early years achiever or the youth impact program. I do life coaching for children. I do life coaching for adults, because very often, and I hope you don't mind when I say this, and please take this with the love that is given, but very often if a child is struggling in some way, it usually means because, as I remember when I said to you, your child will reflect back to you what you are projecting, okay? So, and my son was right. I wasn't showing him any time. I wasn't showing myself any time. So he really made me aware of that. If you need life coaching as well, so that you can be the best role model for your child, because ultimately that's what you want to be. You want your child to be the person that he looks up to or she looks up to. My greatest hero is my mum. Isn't that lovely? Or my dad. So if you need life coaching to get to that place where you can be the best role model for your child, fabulous, you know where to come. That's the Ultimate Life Success Program, which I've got a couple of ladies on at the moment, which is life-changing. I can't tell you how they've gone from exponential growth in every area. I'm awesomely overwhelmed with how fantastically well they're doing. All of my programs are on my website, essex-hypnotherapist.com. It's been so lovely to share with you. I'm just going to have a little... Right, I'm going to respond back to some of these feedback questions because there's been some great stuff coming in. And Robert's just said, oh, you do take some time each day for yourself, right? 10 or 15 minutes. Thank you for that observation, Robert. I can tell you now that within the last 3 weeks, I have implemented into my daily routine. I meditate for an hour. I sit and my main focus is clear my head totally. It takes some practice. But I've become a receptacle to so much more information since I started clearing my head. So yes, I do take that time because I do believe, you know, if you want people to love you and nurture you, then you have to love and nurture yourself. So I give myself that time because I deserve that time. So thank you. Thank you, Robert. Let's have a look down here. I was mostly self-regulating. My main motivation for attending high school was to be in the company of others. Yeah, do you know what, Robert? That's actually funny because me and Naomi were talking the other day about about homeschooling. She was talking about homeschooling her children, and my son was at home that day. And when my son listened to what homeschooling is like, you know, it's at home every day. Input from your one parent or two parents if you have two parents, not getting the chance to see other children. I said to him, do you know what, if it really is an issue for you being at school and you really don't think that you can control your behaviour or discipline your behaviour enough to be in a group of 21 children, it's not a problem. I can homeschool you. And he really, really found that he had that inner strength to be able to discipline himself. He said, no, I don't need that, mummy. I'm quite happy to go back to school and self-regulate myself. Wasn't that a blessing? Really, really was. Let's have a look. Any more of these? Sally and Naomi. Hello, hey, beautiful. Oh, gosh, so lovely. Matthew. Hello, Matthew. I hope the lovely children are here. Beautiful Eve. Beautiful. And Sally Stardust. She's such a lovely... She was my co-parent for many, many years. Oh, my gosh. What she taught me about parenting. Oh, I really needed to know. So Robert's saying, I can only speak from the child's perspective, but yes, I knew I couldn't leave things as they were, with my family convinced that I needed intensive therapy and anger management therapy. Well, Robert, what I would say to that is... You know, as a child, what child needs intensive therapy? If a child needs intensive therapy, it's because he has engaged or been unfortunate enough to be part of a situation where he's not been treated well and he hasn't adjusted properly because of circumstances that have happened to him. I'm sorry, I do not believe there are any naughty children. Naughty is not a word in my vocabulary. There are people that know and there are people that don't know. There are children that know and children that don't know. And if they don't know, then we as adults and teachers are there to serve them and to show them how. It's easy. You know what? It's easy to say naughty because naughty allows you off the hook. When you call a child naughty, it means that you're putting the blame on them and you don't have to take any responsibility. Especially if you're calling your own child naughty. You think that lets you off the hook? No, that puts you firmly in the frame. If your child is behaving in a certain way, it is your responsibility to nurture and teach them so that they understand this behaviour is not acceptable and you give them a behaviour that they can put in that place. Yeah, we don't have naughty children. We have children that just haven't learned. And that's your job, especially if you are the parent. That is your job. Take responsibility. I'm being harsh, and I have to be harsh because I've been through all this. And I've seen so many mums of teenage, especially boys, who are tired by the time their children get to 15. And they go, I just can't do anything with him. He won't listen to me anymore. He won't listen to me anymore. But I know you're tired. I know you're tired. There are times when I'm tired. But you know what? That's when you work with your child. You don't parent them. You parent with them. You talk to them. You ask them, what can I do? What can you tell me how I can empower you? What can I do differently to support you? Because you know what? Children know what they need. They absolutely do. They absolutely do. I can tell you that every time I've asked my children, okay, when I've been brave enough to ask my children, all right then, well, what is it that you think you need then? Boom, they tell me straight away. Now, I'm not always saying that it's practical what they say, and I'm not always saying it can be something that I can say yes to, but 9 times out of 10, there is a developmental way that I can support them with what they're asking for. So, for instance, you know, I don't get enough time with you. Okay, but I still have to do my job. I work from home. But what we can do is make sure that every Sunday we sit down together at the table, which you've already done this evening, by the way, and we have a conversation where we talk to each other and we tell each other what we're grateful for. That's what I can put in place to support you to feel to feel that connection between us. You know, there are always ways, always creative ways that you can work better with your children. And again, that's what life coaching is for, because when you're in it, when you're parenting your children, you're in it all the time. And sometimes it's just like an upward struggle every day. Do this, do that, do that. Try asking some questions. How can you? How can you? You know, because the way that you're telling them, it might not suit them. You'll get the same result if you ask them, well, how can you do that better? How can I help you to do that better? Instead of, you need to do this, you need to do that. Who wants a drill sergeant on their back every day? I know a lot of parents are thinking, oh, Anne-Marie, why are you saying this? You're making our life harder. Children are a job, a very hard one. Not a very hard one, a very challenging one. They will challenge every part of you because they know you better than you know yourself, because they've studied you and watched you. But you can make them an ally and not an enemy. And be human with them. Let them know sometimes it's just too much. Sometimes I can't give you everything you need because I'm tired. So how can you help me to get over those times? Honestly, it works. Let me see if anybody else is there. Just be you to your children. Amen. More secret sauce right here. Good evening, Stephen. Okay, that sounds absolutely interesting. Oh, sorry, people. Right, I'm going to go all the way back up to the top. And if I haven't, because I'm really trying to get my Facebook Lives down to 18 minutes, because I'm going to do a TED Talk. I shared that with you, didn't I? I'm absolutely going to do a TED Talk next year. Naomi, I guess that frightened him. Yes, the teaching from home absolutely did frighten him. My mother, Robert is saying that his mother did homeschooling for us when they lived in Nashville, Tennessee, for about 9 months. And what was the result of that? As a result, oh wow, listen to this. As a result of that, when we returned to Canada, I tested at the highest levels on all of my subjects. Well, that's a very, very, and I think Naomi would agree with you, because Naomi is another, isn't that brilliant, Naomi? Yes, I thought that as well. You might need to talk to Robert afterwards and get some top tips of how to raise high achieving children. I was in the 3rd grade and the highest levels were grade 12. Wow. But there's no but. Can I just say this as an add-on to why I didn't flip my lid when I got this letter home, email home, so cheap now, saving trees. The reason why I didn't flip is because I know school is a really is a pivotal time in a child's development. I think the most important thing that school teaches a child is, number one, punctuality, discipline, perseverance, motivation. I think all the skills that they teach are brilliant. I'm not bothered about the grades. Yes, I'm not bothered about the grades, because I know my son could actually leave school tomorrow and go and get a job. He could, because number one, he's already got his own business. He builds websites very well. He's got 2 clients at the moment, and he got both of those clients by himself, and he negotiated the charge. Yes, so this is his 5th client so far. So I know that my son could leave school, and I've said that to him. I don't believe that school will be the making of you, but I believe the skills and abilities and the transferable skills that you'll learn from school will be the making of you. In other words, if you can commit to being committed to a subject all the way through and get a really good grade, it's not about the grade, it's about the fact that you're able to immerse yourself in that subject and get to a point of where you could relate back that you really understood it. That's the purpose. The grade is not the issue. And all of this, you know, judging people by a number on a piece of paper is just so totally the wrong way. How worthless do you think that makes your children feel? I am nothing but a number. I just think it's really, really bad. But and imagine if there was a school with the laws of attraction as its foundation. You know, here we are today. I've got a fantastic book. Oh gosh, it's over. Yeah, hold on 1 second. Right. And I'm going to just read you out a couple of questions from this school. Imagine if you had a school that asked these kind of questions. What can you do better than anyone else? What do you believe about yourself? What are you settling for in your life? I mean, how amazing are these questions? What do you expect of you? What do you demand of you? Right. Now, if at parents' evening, teachers ask these kinds of questions at parents' evening, especially if you have a lower grade, do you think that's going to enable you to your child to raise his expectations? Because at the moment you come in and they show you the grade and you go, oh, I'm not very happy with that. Great, Jay Grace. And what were you doing? Oh, I was messing about in class. I wasn't doing this well. And that's it. You have that discussion. But it's not an elevated conversation, and it's certainly not a developmental conversation. And it doesn't give them any more by being there and being told, yeah, your grade was rubbish. What are you taking away from that? Oh, I just feel worse than I did when I came. That whole thing, and even if there is a number scoring to you, that whole thing should be about, right, you're here. What do you need to do to take you? Right, first of all, where do you want to be? What grade do you want to get next year? Grade 12? Great. What do you need to do now to enable you to get to a grade 12 next year? Yeah? Who do you need to become? Those kinds of empowering questions at parents' evening. I didn't hear one empowering question at all. Not at all. So that's why I don't put much stock in school grades and passes. I don't tell them that, obviously. But for me, I'm looking at their character development. I'm looking at their grit. I'm looking at their resilience. I'm looking at their deal breakers, and I'm looking at their human qualities as people. Are they kind? Are they caring? Are they nurturing to their friends? Would they help someone out with a difficulty? Would they share their lunch? These are the kind of questions that I want to know from my children. Who is the person you are becoming? Because when I look at that score sheet, that report card, I can't see a person in that report card. I can't. I can just see numbers that tell me how well you're doing in that particular subject, which you're probably never going to use again in your life. So, nurturing questions, and that goes for you too, parents. When you're having the conversations with your children about situations that you're not happy with, parenting at doesn't make any difference. Parenting with makes so much difference. Naomi, what are you sharing with me here? Shame so many mainstream schools are failing kids at this level. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the problem is, you know, in school, right, so I was an early years teacher for 12 years, right? And the early years foundation stage was all about, there were 5 basic rules, and one of those was unique child. We had to look at every child and work with them with their unique capabilities and abilities. And by the time they left, they had to know who they were. They had to know how to manage their own feelings and behaviour. They had to know how to deal with risk. We taught that in primary. And then all of a sudden they go to, in nursery, then all of a sudden they go to primary school and they're a number. In line, reception, get in line, queue, wait, shush, be quiet, listen, talk. That's what they get in primary school, yeah? No creativity, very few opportunities to be creative. When they get to secondary school, my gosh, that box gets even smaller. That box that you have to fall into, do you know why? Because the school's a whole lot bigger and you've got teachers there that are, many don't have children themselves and maybe under 30 years of age, and they're telling you how to parent your children. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I don't mean to be funny, but I know you've got 30 children, you use your strategies, but some teachers can do it, and they are usually the older teachers because they're not having it, are they? They know exactly what to do. And then you've got the 22-year-olds that are coming to me and saying your child's really disruptive in class. Do you think I should go to school and say, I'm not being funny, but my son's being really rude to me at the breakfast table? I don't know what to do about it. Can you put him in detention? You do your job, I'll do my job. Don't let the kids see this though. No, they know. I will stick up for them 100%. All I ask for them is to tell me the truth, and I'll always back them, because I know the school is an institution and they just have one job, and their job is to get the best grades, and they're not into personal development. That's our job as parents, and that's why you need to be asking those empowering questions, because the school certainly won't be. Okay? Thank you so much for this evening. It's been really, really good. I feel like I've got a lot off my chest, and I just want to celebrate our children because they are amazing. And when you really, really take that time to have those conversations where they just open up that little bit and you see that light in their eyes. And I know sometimes when I'm talking to my children, they forget that they're talking to me, and they might let a few things that they really shouldn't tell me. And I have to stop myself from going, because I want to hear these stories. I want them to be able to be really just at ease with me, because I know they're not angels. They're 14 and 15. They are becoming young adults. I'm going to have to let them go out into the big wide world. And I want to know that I want to know the real people that they are, so that I can feel, not that I can trust them, that I can trust them to be able to look after themselves in the world. That's what I mean by trust. That they could stick up for themselves, that they can talk themselves out of a situation, that they've got, negotiating powers, that they're good friends. That's what I want to know. And you can only get that by really knowing your children, not the stock version that they show you so that they can just get on with life and you won't be on their backs, but the real versions of themselves. Yeah, because once you know who they really are, then that empowers you to let them do things that you wouldn't normally let them do. We have to start somewhere. Oh, bless you, Naomi. Right, I've got to love you and leave you. It's been lovely this evening. Tomorrow evening at 8 p.m, I have Dr. Manjeet Kaur. She was with me last week. She's going to talk to you about how you can keep your wonderful figure through the Christmas period. I really need to hear Dr. Manjeet Kaur. I'm already drinking a lemon. Look, I've got my big glass of water here. It hasn't got a lemon in, but usually it has a lemon in it, because I was listening to what she said last week, and she was really, really informative. So until tomorrow evening at 8 p.m, right here, same place. Thank you very much. Thank you for the podcast listeners, Naomi. And thank you to everybody who's contributed. I really appreciate the way that you engage with this show, because you know what? There are other people up there that are listening and watching and learning from you, and are just grateful that you're honest enough to share with them as well. So cheers, and I'll see you all tomorrow. God bless. Bye-bye.